The wedding dress felt like a shroud in Amara's trembling hands. White lace, delicate as spiderwebs, imported from somewhere she'd never see. It should have made her feel beautiful. Instead, it made her feel like a corpse being prepared for burial. She folded it carefully, not out of reverence, but because her hands needed something to do besides shake. The room around her was suffocating. Peeling paint, a single bulb casting sickly yellow light. The mattress she'd slept on for 18 years, now stripped bare. Everything she owned fit into one battered suitcase. Everything except her dreams. Amara, her mother's voice cracked like old wood. Amara didn't turn around. Couldn't. If she looked at her mother's face, she'd break completely. Mama, don't. The words came out harder than intended. I'm sorry. Your father. We had no choice. Those men, they would have killed us. I know. Amara's throat burned. So instead, you're selling me to a stranger. The slap of her mother's feet against the concrete floor, then arms around her, desperate and weak. He's not a bad man. They say he's powerful. He'll protect you. Protect me? Amara wanted to scream. From everyone except himself? But she'd seen her father 3 nights ago, stumbling through the door with blood streaming from his nose, his eyes swollen shut. The debt collectors had been kind that time, a warning. Next time, they'd promised, they'd start with the women. Her father had sobbed. Actually sobbed. Forgive me. Nyendiwam em. Forgive me. She'd stopped crying after that. Tears were a luxury she could no longer afford. Amara pulled away from her mother and reached under her pillow one final time. The letter crinkled in her fingers. University of Lagos, Department of International Relations. Congratulations on your acceptance. She'd read it so many times the paper had gone soft. She'd planned her whole future around those words. Now she carefully tore it into pieces and let them fall like snow. I have to finish packing. Her mother fled, unable to bear witness to what she'd helped destroy. 14 hours later, Amara stood at the boarding gate of Murtala Muhammad International Airport, her passport feeling foreign in her hands. The name was the same, Amara Chidinma Okoye, but the woman was different. Had to be. Through the glass, Lagos sprawled beneath the setting sun. Somewhere beyond that skyline was Enugu, her neighborhood, the university she'd never attend. Her old life, burning behind her like a bridge she'd been forced to torch herself. She pressed her palm against the glass. I'll survive this, she whispered, her breath fogging the window. I have to. The flight attendant called for final boarding. Amara picked up her single suitcase and walked toward the plane. Toward Seoul. Toward a 50-year-old man she'd never met. Toward a marriage that felt like a sentence. If you think you know how this story ends, you're wrong, she thought, something defiant flickering in her chest despite everything. What I discover in that cold mansion will change everything I believe about monsters and men. The door closed behind her with a sound like a coffin sealing shut. Seoul swallowed her whole. The city glittered like broken glass, sharp, beautiful, overwhelming. Neon signs in Korean characters she couldn't read. Cars that probably cost more than her family's entire house. People moving with purpose, not one of them looking at the lost African girl clutching her suitcase like a shield. The driver who collected her from Incheon Airport didn't speak, didn't even acknowledge her beyond a curt nod, just loaded her bag into a black Mercedes that smelled like leather and money, and drove. 40 minutes later, they pulled through iron gates that looked designed to keep out armies. The mansion rose before her like something from a nightmare dressed as a dream. All sharp angles and dark glass, modern and cold. No warmth, no welcome. Just power, displayed like a threat. This is where I'll die, Amara thought absurdly. Maybe not today, but slowly, piece by piece. Inside, the foyer stretched impossibly high. Marble floors so polished she could see her reflection, a small, dark-skinned girl in a faded dress, utterly out of place. Abstract art on the walls, the kind rich people bought to prove they had taste. Not a single family photograph. Then she saw him. So Jun-hyuk stood at the top of the curved staircase like a king surveying a new acquisition. Tall, much taller than she'd imagined, broad-shouldered in an expensive black suit, silver threaded through his dark hair at the temples, distinguished rather than old. His face could have been carved from stone, sharp jawline, high cheekbones, lips pressed into a thin line, but his eyes, God, his eyes, frozen lakes in winter, pale and piercing. They looked at her without emotion, without interest, without anything human at all. He descended slowly, each step deliberate. When he reached her, he stopped precisely 3 feet away, close enough to speak, far enough to make his distance clear. You will have your own wing. His English was heavily accented, each word carefully selected. We will rarely see each other. The staff will provide everything you need. Amara's anger flared. Don't I even get a welcome? Or welcome? The word was flat, mechanical. Minso will show you to your rooms. A man materialized from the shadows, lean, younger than Jun Hyuk, with sharp, intelligent eyes that studied Amara like she was a puzzle that might explode. This was Min Seo, she realized. The right-hand man, the one who watched for threats. Follow me, Minso said in perfect English. Another woman joined them, older, Korean, with a gentle face that seemed out of place in this fortress. I'm Hana, she said warmly. I'll be your translator and companion. If you need anything, anything at all, you tell me. The kindness in her voice nearly broke Amara's composure. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Her wing was absurdly large. Bedroom, sitting room, private bathroom with a tub the size of a small pool. Everything white and cream and untouched. Beautiful, sterile, like a luxury hospital room. That first dinner was torture. They sat at opposite ends of a table designed for 20. The food was elegant. Korean dishes she didn't recognize, prepared by invisible hands. Junyuk ate with perfect precision, never looking up, never speaking. Amara's rage simmered with each silent minute. She wasn't furniture, wasn't a decoration to be displayed and ignored. Finally, she slammed her chopsticks down. Is this what it will be? You pretend I don't exist? He paused, napkin halfway to his lips. What would you prefer? Acknowledgement, conversation, basic human decency. You have a roof, safety, resources. His voice remained maddeningly calm. What more do you require? I'm 18 years old. I gave up my entire life. And you can't even. She stopped, voice breaking. Something flickered across his face. Too quick to read. He set down his napkin and stood. Hana will show you the study. I've arranged access to online university courses. You may continue your education. He walked away before she could respond, leaving her staring at his untouched food. Later, alone in her room, Amara found the university portal already set up on a new laptop. International relations. Full scholarship. Already enrolled. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the screen, unable to reconcile the cruelty of his indifference with the kindness of this gesture. Why did you agree to this marriage? She'd asked him before he disappeared. He'd paused at the doorway, backlit by the hallway. For a moment, she thought he might answer. Might give her something real. Instead, he simply walked away, leaving her question hanging in the cold, empty air. 3 weeks of silence had sharpened Amara's anger into something dangerous. She'd tried patience, tried understanding, tried losing herself in her studies, and pretending the ghost of a man who shared her address didn't exist. But every ignored greeting, every meal eaten in suffocating quiet, every night spent alone in her beautiful prison, it all accumulated like poison in her bloodstream. Tonight, she was done being invisible. She found him in his office, surrounded by papers covered in Korean characters, a glass of whiskey catching the lamplight. He didn't look up when she entered, didn't acknowledge her presence at all. You don't even look at me. Her voice cut through the silence like a blade. Finally, he raised his eyes, cold, distant, unmoved. Am I that repulsive? The words cracked in her throat. Is my skin too dark? Am I too young? Too African? What is it about me that disgusts you so much you can't even... This is a business arrangement. His voice was ice. Nothing more. Business? The laugh that escaped her was half sob. I'm 18 years old. I had dreams. I had a future. And I gave up everything, everything, to become your wife. And you can't even pretend I exist. She was shouting now, tears streaming down her face, all the grief and rage of 3 weeks of her entire stolen life pouring out. You want to know what's killing me? It's not that you don't love me. I never expected love. It's that you won't even try to see me as human. Junhyuk stood slowly, something dangerous flickering across his face. Amara! The window exploded inward. Glass shattered in a glittering rain. Amara screamed as 3 figures in black tactical gear crashed through, weapons raised. More sounds, gunfire, shouting, chaos erupting from multiple directions. Then Junhyuk moved. The transformation was instantaneous, terrifying. The cold, distant man vanished, replaced by something lethal and precise. He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed Amara, and threw them both behind the massive oak desk as bullets tore through the space where they'd been standing. His body covered hers completely, one hand clamped over her mouth, the other holding a gun she hadn't seen him draw. His mouth was at her ear, Korean words tumbling out in an urgent whisper she couldn't understand. His heart hammered against her back. His breath was hot against her neck. This was the first time he touched her, truly touched her, and it was to shield her from death. "Don't make a sound," he breathed in English. Then lower, almost reverent, "I won't let them touch you." More gunfire, shouting in Korean, the sound of bodies hitting the floor. Junhyuk moved with impossible speed, one moment covering her, the next rising to fire with deadly accuracy, then back to her, protecting, always protecting. She glimpsed him in action, fluid, controlled violence. Each movement purposeful, each shot finding its mark. This wasn't a businessman. This was a predator in his element. It lasted maybe 3 minutes, felt like hours. When silence finally fell, Junhyuk kept her pinned beneath him, scanning the room, weapon raised. Only when Minso appeared in the doorway, blood on his sleeve, did he slowly release her. "Two down. One escaped," Minso reported in English, perhaps for Amara's benefit. His eyes were hard. "Boss, we have a problem." Junhyuk helped Amara to her feet, his hand steady even as hers shook violently. "Tell me." They were asking for her, specifically, the African girl. Minso's gaze fixed on Amara with new intensity. This wasn't a territory hit. This was an extraction. The room tilted. Amara's knees buckled, but Junhyuk caught her, those strong arms suddenly the only solid thing in a world gone mad. "Why?" she whispered. "I'm nobody. I'm nothing." "You're my wife." Junhyuk's voice was granite. "That makes you everything to my enemies." Minso stepped closer, his expression grim. "There's a traitor. Someone inside gave them our security protocols, told them exactly where to find her. Someone who knew she'd be in your office tonight." Junhyuk's jaw clenched, a muscle jumping in his cheek. The first real emotion she'd seen from him. Fury, tightly leashed but burning. He looked down at Amara, and for the first time since she'd arrived, he truly saw her. His hand came up, almost touching her face, before he caught himself and pulled back. "Get medical here. Lock down the compound. I want every person in this house accounted for." His voice carried absolute authority, then quieter, meant only for her. "You're bleeding." She touched her cheek. Her fingers came away red, a cut from the flying glass she hadn't even felt. Junhyuk's expression darkened further. He turned to Minso with a command that sounded like a vow. "She doesn't leave my sight, ever." The master bedroom suite was twice the size of Amara's wing, all dark wood and masculine elegance. Junhyuk deposited her on the massive bed like something precious and fragile, then immediately retreated to the adjoining office, closing the door between them. Still keeping his distance, even now. But that night, as Amara lay sleepless, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling, she heard him moving on the other side of the wall. Restless, awake, standing guard. The distance felt different now, less like rejection, more like restraint. 2 days after the attack, Amara woke to find Junhyuk asleep in the chair by her door, gun on his lap, dark circles under his eyes. He'd been watching over her all night. Something in her chest cracked open. That evening, she found him on the office balcony, staring at Seoul's glittering skyline. For once, she didn't announce herself, just stood beside him in silence. "You should be resting," he said finally. "So should you." A ghost of something, amusement, surprise, flickered across his face. "I don't rest well." "Nightmares?" His silence was answer enough. "Tell me about them," she pressed gently. "No." "Then tell me about these." She reached out, fingers hovering over the scar on his hand, not quite touching. "You're covered in stories. I want to know them." "They're not stories. They're mistakes." "Then tell me your dreams, the ones before everything went wrong." He looked at her then, really looked, and she saw something raw flicker behind those icy eyes. "I wanted to be a teacher. Literature. I loved books before I learned to love weapons." The confession hung between them, unexpected and devastating. "I wanted to change the world," Amara whispered back. "I thought if I studied hard enough, I could make things better. For people like me, people no one listens to." "You still can." "Can I? Trapped in this fortress, married to a man who won't even..." She stopped, but the words had already landed. Junhyuk's expression shifted. "You think I don't want to?" His voice dropped, rough. You think I haven't noticed every time you walk into a room? That I don't know exactly where you are, every moment of every day? Her breath caught. Then why? Because everyone I've ever cared about dies. The words were brutal, final. That's why. The training started the next morning. If someone grabs you from behind, Junhyuk demonstrated, his chest pressed against her back, his arms imprisoning hers. You drop your weight, turn into them, and strike here. His fingers guided hers to his ribs, his throat. Amara's pulse raced, but not from fear. His hands on her waist, adjusting her stance. His breath against her ear as he corrected her form. The solid heat of him when he showed her how to break a hold by pressing close rather than pulling away. Again, he commanded, and she obeyed, hyper aware of every point of contact. During one sequence, she stumbled. His arms caught her instantly, one around her waist, one cradling her head. They froze, her hands on his chest, his face inches from hers, close enough to count his eyelashes. His eyes dropped to her lips, lingered. Then he released her abruptly, stepping back like she'd burned him. That's enough for today. That afternoon, Hana found Amara on the terrace, brought tea without being asked. He's afraid of you, Hana said quietly. Of me? I'm the one who should be terrified. No, you terrify him precisely because you make him feel. Hana's expression turned sad. He had a sister once, Ji-yeon. 15 years ago, rivals took her to hurt him. He was younger then, more reckless. He tried everything to save her. Failed. She died because of him, because of who he was, what he did. Amara's throat tightened. That's why he pushes me away. He thinks distance will keep you safe, but I see how he looks at you when you're not watching. Like you're the sun and he's been cold for so long. Meanwhile, Minso and Junhyuk pursued their investigation with lethal focus. Daejung, Minso reported, spreading surveillance photos across the desk. He's been making unauthorized calls, meeting with unknowns. His financials show unexplained deposits. Junhyuk studied the evidence, expression carved from stone. Daejung had been with them for 8 years. The betrayal tasted like ash. We move on him tomorrow. That night, Amara woke to sounds from the office. Gasping, Korean words thick with anguish. She padded to the door, found it unlocked for the first time. Junhyuk thrashed on the sofa, still asleep, caught in whatever hell haunted him. Sweat gleamed on his skin. His face was twisted in agony. Junhyuk, she whispered, kneeling beside him. Wake up! His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist hard enough to bruise. His eyes flew open, wild, unseeing. Then recognition, horror. He released her immediately. Myeonhae? He gasped. Sorry, I'm sorry. It's okay. She should have left, should have given him space. Instead, she settled on the floor beside the sofa, her hand resting near his. You're safe. I'm safe. We're okay. His breathing slowly steadied. Minutes passed. Then his fingers tentatively brushed against hers. They sat like that until dawn painted the sky pink, their hands barely touching, both pretending to sleep while hyper-aware of every breath, every small movement. The distance between them was shrinking, dangerously, inevitably. Amara couldn't sleep. Again. The safe house felt too quiet after weeks of Junhyuk's protective presence. She wandered the hallways at 2 in the morning, restless, when she heard voices, low, urgent, coming from the study. The door was cracked open. She should have walked away, should have respected his privacy. But something in Minseo's tone, raw desperation, made her pause. Can't keep doing this. 5 years, June. 5 years of this double life and it's eating you alive. I'm close. 3 more months and we can dismantle the entire trafficking network. Hundreds of girls saved. Amara's breath stopped. Minseo's voice cracked. Your handlers don't care if you survive this. They just want results. And now with Amara, don't. The word was savage. Don't say her name. She deserves to know the truth. That you're not actually. That I'm what? A fraud? An undercover agent who's been living a lie so long I can't remember who I really am. Junhyuk's laugh was bitter, broken. That I married her because her father's creditors were the same bastards trafficking teenage girls across 3 continents? That saving her was just another box to check on my mission report? The world tilted violently. Amara's hand flew to her mouth, stifling the gasp that threatened to expose her. Her legs trembled, her heart shattered into 1,000 cutting pieces. Just a mission. I was just a mission. It started that way, Minso said quietly, but that's not what she is now. You know it isn't. It doesn't matter what she is. Everyone I protect dies, Min. My sister, my former partner, every civilian who got too close. This job, this life, it's poison, and I've already contaminated her. Then tell her, give her the choice. The choice to die for a man who doesn't even exist. The So Jun-hyuk she knows is a construct. A monster wearing a mask. When this is over, I disappear. New identity, new life. She goes home to Nigeria with her family's debts cleared and never thinks about me again. And if she wants to think about you, if she won't. Final. Absolute. I'll make sure of it. Amara burst through the door, fury incinerating the heartbreak. You used me. Both men spun. Junhyuk's face drained of color, the first time she'd ever seen him truly shaken. Amara, my father's debt, the marriage, all of it, just part of your investigation? Her voice shook with rage. Was anything real, or am I just another trafficking victim you needed to save for your case file? That's not. He stepped toward her, hands raised. Don't. She backed away, tears streaming. You let me believe I was nothing to you when the truth is I was less than nothing. Just a tool, a means to an end. Something fierce and desperate flashed across his face. I saved you. Those men would have sold you to the highest bidder, and I stopped it. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to care about someone I can never keep? You don't care about me. You care about your mission. I can't care about anyone. The words exploded from him, raw and agonized. Everyone I care about dies. My sister died screaming my name. My partner took a bullet meant for me. This job takes everything and everyone, and I refuse to watch you become another casualty. She slapped him. The crack echoed through the study. His head snapped to the side, a red mark blooming on his cheek. Silence, thick and suffocating. Then he grabbed her wrist, not rough, but desperate, and pulled her against him. His other hand tangled in her hair, tilting her face up. You want the truth? His voice was gravel and smoke. You terrify me. You walk into rooms and I forget how to breathe. You look at me like I'm human when I stopped being human years ago. And God help me, I'm selfish enough to want to keep you even though it's going to destroy us both. His mouth crashed against hers. The kiss was desperate, furious, drowning. 5 weeks of restraint shattering into fragments. His hands on her waist, her back, her face, touching her like he was memorizing her. She kissed him back with equal desperation, tasting anger and grief and something that felt dangerously like love. His phone shattered the moment, vibrating violently against the desk. He pulled away, breathing hard, and answered. His expression transformed from raw emotion to carved stone in seconds. When? A pause. You're certain? Another pause, longer. His eyes found Amara's, and what she saw there turned her blood to ice. Understood. He lowered the phone slowly. It's not Daejung, he said, voice hollow. It never was. Then who? Hana. Minso's voice came from behind them, flat with shock. Hana's been feeding information to Park Sung-min. He has her daughter. Has had her for 6 months. She's been betraying us to keep her alive. Amara's knees buckled. Junhyuk caught her, held her upright. She's gone, Minso continued. Cleared out her quarters, left this. He held up a phone. The message on screen was simple, brutal. Trade yourself for the girl, or I kill everyone you've ever protected. You have 24 hours. Sungmin Junhyuk's arms tightened around Amara, protective and possessive. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of a man staring at his own grave. Get her out of Seoul, tonight. Absolutely not. Amara stood in the center of the bedroom, arms crossed, chin raised in defiance, even as Junhyuk methodically packed her belongings. You don't have a choice. His voice was flat, emotionless, the mask firmly back in place. There's a flight to Lagos in 4 hours. Minso will escort you to... I said no. He finally looked at her, and the coldness in his eyes made her flinch. This isn't a discussion. Sungmin wants you specifically. Do you understand what that means? What he'll do to you to break me? Then don't let him take me. Fight back. We can. We? The word dripped with disdain. There is no we. There never was. You were a mission objective. Now you're a liability. Go home, Amara. The cruelty was intentional. She saw it in the way his jaw clenched, the way he wouldn't quite meet her eyes. He was trying to hurt her, trying to make her hate him enough to leave. You're lying, she said quietly. After that kiss. That kiss was a mistake. Stress, proximity, nothing more. He zipped the suitcase with vicious efficiency. You're 18. You've confused protection with love. It happens. You'll get over it. Stop. Her voice broke. Please stop. You want the truth? He turned to face her fully, and his expression was carved from ice. You were always just a mission. The marriage was paperwork. The education, the protection, all calculated moves to maintain my cover and secure evidence against your father's creditors. You served your purpose. Now go home, little girl, and forget you were ever here. The words landed like physical blows. Amara felt something inside her crack and splinter. You're a coward. Her voice trembled with fury and heartbreak. You hide behind duty and missions and masks because you're terrified to feel anything real. Your sister would be ashamed of what you've become. His hand shot out, gripping the doorframe so hard his knuckles went white. For a moment, she thought he might break, might drop the facade and let her see the man beneath. Instead, he straightened, his expression settling into something cold and final. Minseo, take her to the safe house. If she resists, carry her. Minseo appeared in the doorway, sympathy written across his face. Boss, now. Amara didn't fight as Minseo gently but firmly took her arm. What was the point? Junhyuk had already made his choice. As they descended the stairs, she looked back once. Junhyuk stood at the top, watching her leave with an expression that might have been agony if she believed he was capable of feeling anything at all. Their eyes met, held. Then he turned away, disappearing into shadows. The safe house was sterile and anonymous. Corporate apartment in a high-rise, all beige walls and temporary furniture. Minseo stationed guards outside, gave her a phone with one contact programmed in, then left without meeting her eyes. Alone, finally, Amara let herself collapse. She cried until she had nothing left, curled on the unfamiliar bed, feeling more lost than she had the night she left Nigeria. At least then she'd had anger to fuel her. Now she just felt hollow. Hours later, hollow-eyed and empty, she began mechanically unpacking. That's when she found the folder, thick, official-looking, hidden beneath her clothes with obvious intention. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Mission reports, surveillance photos, financial records documenting the trafficking network, and underneath everything, letters, handwritten, unsent. The first was dated 3 days after she arrived. She looks at me like I'm human. I'd forgotten what that felt like. I should send her away now, before I'm selfish enough to let her stay. Another 2 weeks later, she argued with me about Dostoevsky today. Fierce and brilliant and so young it breaks me. I'm 32 years older. I've killed 17 people. I have no right to notice how her eyes light up when she discovers something new. And the most recent, written just yesterday. You reminded me what it means to live, not just survive. I'm sorry I couldn't give you the life you deserved. If I don't come back, know that protecting you was not duty. It was the first choice I've made for myself in 5 years. Every moment with you was borrowed time, and I'm grateful for every second. You deserve someone whole, someone clean, someone who can love you in daylight instead of shadows. Forgive me for being too broken to be that man. But know this, if I could have chosen anyone across all my lifetimes, it would have been you. June Amara pressed the letter to her chest, tears streaming fresh. You stubborn, self-sacrificing fool. He was going to trade himself, going to die to keep her safe. And he'd pushed her away so she wouldn't try to stop him. She was on her feet before conscious thought caught up, mind racing. The guards outside wouldn't let her leave. But the window, 12 stories up, but there was a maintenance ladder, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Don't do anything stupid. Daejung's voice. I'm parked in the garage, level B3, black sedan. If you're half as smart as the boss thinks you are, you'll figure out how to get there. The line went dead. Amara grabbed the folder, her passport, and everything she could carry. She studied the guard's pattern through the peephole, shift change in 8 minutes. She'd spent her whole life being afraid, being small, being powerless. Not anymore. I'm coming, you impossible man, and you're gonna live long enough for me to kill you myself. The warehouse squatted on the edge of Incheon's industrial district like a rotting tooth. Rusted metal, broken windows, the smell of salt and decay from the nearby harbor. Daejung cut the engine 3 blocks away. You sure about this? Amara's hands shook, but her voice was steady. He's walking into a trap. I'm not letting him die alone. He's going to be furious. Good. He can be furious and alive. They approached on foot, using shipping containers for cover. Daejung moved like a shadow, and Amara tried to match his silence, remembering everything Junhyuk had taught her about staying low, controlling her breathing, making herself small. Through a gap in the warehouse's corroded wall, she saw them. Junyuk stood in the center of the vast space, hands raised, weaponless, utterly vulnerable. Around him, a dozen armed men formed a loose circle, and at the far end, seated like a king on a makeshift throne of crates, was Park Sung-min, younger than she'd expected, handsome in a cruel way, smiling like he'd already won. The legendary silent tiger, Sung-min's voice echoed, finally brought to heel. You have me. Release the hostages. Hostages? Sung-min laughed. There are no hostages, Junhyuk. There's just you, walking into your own execution. Amara's blood turned to ice. The girl is irrelevant. She was bait, and you bit so predictably. Sungmin stood, circling Junhyuk like a predator. Here's what happens next. You die here. Tonight. Evidence surfaces that you were the mastermind behind the trafficking network. The investigation dies with you. I absorb your territory, eliminate your task force contacts, and become untouchable. Poetic, really. Junhyuk's expression remained carved stone, but Amara saw the tension in his shoulders. He'd walked into this knowing it was a trap, willing to die anyway. You impossible, self-sacrificing fool. Movement to the left. Hana, hands zip-tied, face wet with tears, being held by two guards. I'm sorry, Hana sobbed. June, I'm so sorry. He has Seyun, my baby girl. I couldn't. I know. Junhyuk's voice gentled. I understand. How touching. Sungmin pulled a gun, pressed it to Hana's temple. Should I kill her first? Let you watch another woman die because of your choices? Wait, Hana's voice cracked. I have proof. Everything. Recordings, financial transfers, names of everyone in your network. It's insurance. Kill me, and it goes public. Sungmin's smile faltered. You're bluffing. She's not, Amara said, stepping out from behind the container. Every gun swung toward her. Junhyuk's face transformed. Horror, fury, desperate fear. Amara? No. Your mistake, Amara continued, voice surprisingly steady, was assuming she only had one loyalty. Yes, she betrayed Junhyuk to save her daughter, but she also documented everything to protect herself. And now, she raised Hana's phone, stolen from the safe house evidence. It's uploading to 3 separate law enforcement agencies as we speak. It was a bluff. The phone had no signal here. But Sungmin didn't know that. The moment of confusion was all Daejung needed. His shot took out the lights, plunging the warehouse into darkness. Chaos erupted. Amara dropped and rolled exactly as Junhyuk had taught her. Gunfire lit the darkness in strobing flashes. She heard Junhyuk shouting her name, rage and terror intertwined. Then his hands found her in the dark, pulling her against a concrete pillar, his body a shield. I told you to leave. His voice was raw. I told you I'm not running. You could have died. So could you. More gunfire. Then, sirens. Floodlights suddenly blazing through the warehouse's broken windows. Task force! Minso's voice boomed over a loudspeaker. Drop your weapons. The building is surrounded. The cavalry had arrived. Sungmin's men began dropping weapons, hands raised, but Sungmin himself backed toward Hana, gun raised. Insurance, insurance, he snarled, grabbing her. I need insurance. Junhyuk stepped forward, hands raised. Take me. Let them go. No. Hana twisted, managing to shout, Seyun's at the Myeongdong safe house. 3rd floor. Green door. Daejung was already on his phone, coordinating. We've got her. She's safe. Hana's sob of relief was cut short as Sungmin struck her, throwing her aside. His wild eyes found Amara. You, he breathed. You ruined everything. He moved like a snake, impossibly fast, and suddenly the gun was pressed to Amara's temple, his arm around her throat, her back against his chest. Junhyuk froze, every ounce of color drained from his face. Drop your weapons, Sungmin commanded the task force agents pouring in, or she dies. Minso appeared at the entrance, suited agents flanking him, weapons trained. But he raised a hand. Hold fire. The standoff crystallized, deadly, fragile, and Amara, pressed against a madman with a gun to her head, felt strangely calm. She'd survived her father's debts, survived forced marriage, survived assassination attempts. She'd survived this too. She caught Junhyuk's eyes across the space between them, saw his controlled mask cracking, revealing the terrified man beneath, and she smiled. Small, reassuring, trust me, that smile said, like I trust you. Let her go. Junhyuk's voice was granite concealing earthquake. Your fight is with me. Sungmin's laugh was unhinged. My fight? Oh, Junhyuk, my fight with you ended 15 years ago when I won. What are you talking about? Your precious Jiyeon. Sungmin's smile was poison. You blamed yourself for her death. Thought your enemies took her as revenge. But it was me. I killed her. Personally. The warehouse went silent except for Amara's harsh breathing and Sungmin's cruel confession. I needed you broken, needed you angry enough to abandon your morals and join us. Your sister was collateral damage in recruiting the most lethal operative in Seoul. He pressed the gun harder against Amara's temple. And it worked. You became exactly what I needed. The silent tiger, born from grief and rage. Junhyuk's control shattered. The transformation was terrible to witness, years of disciplined restraint exploding into pure incandescent fury. His hands clenched, his jaw locked. Grief and rage warred across his features. You killed a 15-year-old girl to manipulate me? I killed an obstacle to get an asset. I'll destroy you. You'll try. Sungmin backed toward a side exit, dragging Amara. But first you'll watch her die and know it's your fault, just like Amara moved. Drop weight. Turn into the attacker. Strike the vulnerable points. She became dead weight, dropping and twisting. Her elbow found his ribs, not hard enough to break, but enough to shock. His grip loosened. She grabbed his gun wrist with both hands, dropped to her knees, and threw her weight backward. The gun discharged into the ceiling as they went down together. Then Junhyuk was there, pulling her away, shoving her toward Min-seo. His eyes met hers for one electric second, pride, terror, love, before he turned back to Sungmin. The fight was brutal and personal, no calculated martial arts, just raw violence. 15 years of grief and rage channeled into fists and fury. They crashed through crates, sending goods scattering. Sungmin was younger, desperate, but Junhyuk fought like a man with nothing left to lose except the woman watching in horror. Sungmin pulled a knife. Junhyuk caught his wrist, twisted, the blade clattered away. But Sungmin's other hand found a hidden gun. Junhyuk! Amara screamed. The shot went wide, because Amara threw a chunk of concrete, hitting Sungmin's shoulder, disrupting his aim just enough. Junhyuk used the opening. One brutal strike to the wrist, the gun flew. Another to the jaw. Sungmin went down. Task Force agents swarmed forward, weapons trained. Min-seo personally zip-tied Sungmin's hands while reading him his rights. It was over. Junhyuk stood in the center of the chaos, chest heaving, and turned toward Amara. He took one step, two, then collapsed. No! Amara ran to him, dropping to her knees. Blood spread across his side, a gunshot wound, hidden beneath his dark shirt, sustained sometime during the fight. No, when did this? Earlier. His smile was weak. Didn't want to worry you? You stubborn, Min-seo? Medic! Now! Paramedics rushed forward, but Amara refused to move, cradling his head in her lap. Don't you dare die on me! Tears streamed down her face. Not after everything. You don't get to save me, just to leave me. His hand found hers, grip weak but determined. I told you. Everyone I care about. I'm not going anywhere. She leaned down, pressing her forehead to his. You're stuck with me, understand? You married me. You're not escaping that easily. They loaded him onto a stretcher. Amara climbed into the ambulance without asking permission, gripping his hand like a lifeline. The paramedic worked frantically, cutting away his shirt, packing the wound. Junhyuk's eyes fluttered, consciousness slipping. Stay with me, Amara begged. Please. I love you. Do you hear me? I love you. His eyes opened, just slightly. His lips moved. Saranghae, he whispered in Korean. Then in English, barely audible. I love you. Ahurumgi nanya, she responded in Igbo, then repeated it. I love you too, you stubborn old man. His smile was genuine despite the pain. Not that old, 50 years old with a gunshot wound and you still have ego intact. 18 years old, throwing concrete at armed men. We're perfect for each other. Perfectly. Insane. His eyes closed, but his grip on her hand remained firm. The paramedic gave her a reassuring nod. He'd stabilize. Through the ambulance windows, Seoul's lights blurred past. Amara held Junhyuk's hand against her cheek and whispered promises into his skin. They'd survived. Together. And this time, finally, she believed their story was just beginning. 6 months later, Amara stood in the doorway of their new home, a modest house in Bukhansan, surrounded by gardens instead of walls, watching Junhyuk attempt to assemble furniture with one hand still weak from physical therapy. You're doing it wrong, she said, smiling. I survived a gunshot wound and dismantled a criminal empire. I can build a bookshelf. The instructions are upside down. He looked down, sighed, and she laughed, a sound that still made his expression soften with wonder. That night, after months of recovery and careful distance, she found him on their bed, nervous in a way she'd never seen him before. "What's wrong?" "I'm 52 years old." His voice was raw, covered in scars, haunted by things I've done, and you're, she kissed him quiet, exactly what I need, not perfect, real. She initiated slowly, patient and loving, showing him with touch what words couldn't convey. He responded with reverence, hands trembling as they traced her curves, worshiping her body like something sacred. The connection between them transcended physical. It was trust, vulnerability, love earned through survival. When they finally came together, it was tender and passionate, emotional in ways that left them both breathless and crying. He made up for months of distance with every kiss, every whispered word in Korean and Igbo that she'd taught him. "Nikem," he murmured afterward, wrapped around her, tracing her face in the moonlight. "My own." She smiled against his chest. "Forever." 3 months later, Amara logged into her final university exam, Junhyuk reading beside her, his hand resting absently on her knee. When the results came through, graduated with honors, he with arms, pride radiating from every pore. "I knew you would." We both did. Her father arrived from Nigeria the following week, older and humbled. The debts were paid, the traffickers imprisoned. He wept when he saw her, not the broken girl he'd sold, but a woman who'd found strength in the darkest places. "Forgive me, Noem." She embraced him carefully. "We're healing, all of us." Hana visited often, her daughter Seyon beside her, both working to rebuild trust. Daejung became a regular dinner guest. Minso stood as godfather when they needed one. They built a family from broken pieces. 1 year after the warehouse, Amara stood in their garden, Junhyuk's hand resting on her growing belly, feeling their child move beneath his palm. The sunset painted Seoul in gold, and everything felt impossibly, preciously fragile. "He couldn't satisfy me with distance, with walls, with silence," she said quietly. "But when he finally let me in, when we both stopped running, he satisfied every part of me I didn't know was starving. Not just my body, but my soul." Junhyuk kissed her temple. "They said our marriage was forced." "They were right," she agreed. "But our love?" He turned her to face him, eyes bright with everything he'd learned to feel. "That was the freest choice either of us ever made." Their lips met as the sun dipped below the horizon, two broken people who'd found wholeness in each other, proof that sometimes the most beautiful stories begin in the darkest places. And in the growing dusk, in a garden they'd planted together, they held each other, and their unfinished future, finally, home. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of unexpected love and second chances. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever found beauty in the most unexpected places? And stay tuned, because next week's story will take you somewhere even more shocking. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.